Zipporah, a figure often overshadowed by the greatness of Moses, carries with her a story full of nuances and challenges. Daughter of Jethro, priest of Midian, she not only married the man who would liberate her people but also faced unexpected situations that tested her faith and courage. The Bible reveals that Zipporah played a crucial role in Moses' life, from the moment he met her while fleeing Egypt to the complexity of her family life while he led a nation. But who is Zipporah really? What led her to make decisions that changed the course of her story and that of Moses? What if we said that her story is intertwined with an act of bravery that could have cost the life of her own family? What secrets and challenges did this woman face while dealing with the responsibility of being a wife and mother in such tumultuous times? Prepare to dive into the narrative of Zipporah, a woman who not only lived alongside a man of God but also had her own journey of faith and resilience. Identity of Zipporah. Zipporah, an intriguing figure in the biblical narrative, was one of the 7 daughters of Jethro, the priest of Midian. Imagine a vibrant environment, filled with daughters, each with their unique characteristics, but Zipporah, in particular, stands out for her role in the story of Moses. Born into a family that, despite not being Hebrew, was closely linked to the events that shaped the life of the people of Israel, Zipporah grew up in a context where traditions, rituals, and the relationship with the divine were fundamental. Life in the desert prepared her for the challenges to come. Being the wife of Moses was not just a title, it was a responsibility. Zipporah became a link between 2 cultures, the Midianite and the Hebrew. With her roots in Midian, Zipporah brought a unique perspective to Moses' life. The challenges they faced together were many, but her identity as a strong and determined woman was fundamental to the story that unfolded. It is fascinating to think about how her life, although often overshadowed by the grandeur of Moses' actions, was filled with meaning. She was not just a wife, Zipporah was a mother, a companion, and a partner of Moses on his journey. Her identity intertwined with the stories of struggle and liberation that permeate the biblical narrative. Zipporah is an example of how women play crucial roles, even when history tends to focus on male figures. Her life is a reminder that every character has its importance and that often the behind-the-scenes of history is as relevant as the main events. Furthermore, Zipporah also represents the women who, in times of crisis and change, stand out for their strength and resilience. The story of Zipporah invites us to reflect on the role of women in the Judeo-Christian tradition and how their contributions shape the course of history. It is interesting to note that, although her story is not the most well-known, the impact of her actions and decisions resonates through generations. Thus, the identity of Zipporah is not limited to her family ties or her role as Moses' wife. She is a symbol of strength and resistance, a woman who lived in a time of great challenges and who, through her choices, helped shape the future of a people. Her story is a testimony to the importance of each individual in building collective narratives and in the quest for freedom and justice. Meaning of the name. The name Zipporah, which many scholars believe means bird, carries with it a lightness and symbolism that cannot be ignored. Birds are often associated with freedom, hope, and the ability to fly beyond physical limitations. This interpretation of the name can be seen as a reflection of Zipporah's own destiny, which, upon marrying Moses, becomes part of a story of liberation and escape from oppression in Egypt. Thinking about the symbolism of the bird, it is interesting to imagine how Zipporah may have felt regarding her role in Moses' life and in the journey of the Hebrew people. Did she feel that, like a bird, she was about to take flight toward a new life? Or, on the other hand, could the weight of expectations and responsibilities have made her feel trapped in a cage, struggling to find her own space amid so much turmoil? Names, especially in the biblical tradition, have a profound meaning and often reveal aspects of the personality or destiny of the person. In the case of Zipporah, the meaning of her name can be seen as a metaphor for her ability to face challenges and adapt to new circumstances. Just as a bird must learn to fly, Zipporah had to adjust to life as the wife of a leader and the mother of children who would be part of a generation of liberators. Another interesting layer to consider is how the etymology of the name can reflect Zipporah's relationship with nature and the environment around her. Growing up in Midian, a desert region, the connection with nature and the cycles of life would be an important part of her existence. The bird, as a symbol of freedom, may have given Zipporah the hope that, just as the birds fly away, her family would also find a new home and a new life away from Egyptian oppression. Therefore, the name Zipporah, with its connotation of freedom and lightness, is not just a label. It encapsulates the essence of her life and struggles, becoming a symbol of the quest for liberation and dignity in times of adversity. It is a reminder that, even amid immense challenges, hope and resilience can prevail, just like a bird soaring in the skies. Encounter with Moses. The encounter between Zipporah and Moses is one of the most intriguing moments in the narrative. Imagine the scene: Moses, fleeing Egypt after committing a violent act, comes across the flock of Jethro, Zipporah's father. In a gesture of kindness, he decides to help Jethro's daughter draw water for the animals. This encounter was not just a coincidence, it was the beginning of a new life for both. The connection that formed at that moment had the potential to change the course of history. Zipporah, in that situation, was a woman seeking her place in a male-dominated world. Moses's act of helping her not only demonstrated his character but also established a bond that would become fundamental for both. It is fascinating to think about how this first meeting, which may seem simple, was loaded with meaning and premonitions of a future they could not yet imagine. Moses's act of helping Zipporah also reveals an important aspect of his personality: the defense of the oppressed. He had just fled Egypt, where he felt torn between his Hebrew heritage and his life as an Egyptian prince. By helping Zipporah, he was, in a way, reaffirming his commitment to justice and the protection of the vulnerable, a theme that would resonate throughout his journey. As the relationship between Zipporah and Moses developed, both discovered that they had much to learn from each other. Zipporah brought a new perspective to Moses's life, connecting him with a different culture and enriching his experience. This union was not just a fusion of two people, but also of two distinct worlds, which together would contribute to a new narrative. At the core, the encounter of Zipporah and Moses is a reminder that, often, moments that seem to be mere accidents of fate can actually be the first steps toward great changes. Life is full of surprises, and what begins as a simple act of kindness can transform into an epic plot where love, courage, and sacrifice intertwine to shape the future of a nation. Marriage and children. The marriage of Zipporah and Moses is a significant chapter in their story, marking the beginning of a new phase filled with challenges and joys. Jethro, Zipporah's father, recognized the strength and character of Moses, and, in a gesture of trust, gave his daughter in marriage to him. This union was not just a marriage, it was a bond that united two cultures and two stories. Zipporah, as Moses's wife, took on a prominent role, especially at a time when decisions and alliances were essential for survival and leadership. Zipporah and Moses had two children, Gershom and Eleazar, whose names carry profound meanings. Gershom, which means foreigner in a strange land, reflects Moses's experience as a man in search of his identity and purpose. He was far from home, fleeing from a painful past, and the choice of this name encapsulates the search for a home that he had not yet found. On the other hand, Eleazar, which means God is help, represents the faith and hope that, amid difficulties, God would always be present to offer support. Zipporah's motherhood was, without a doubt, a central aspect of her life. Raising children in such a tumultuous context required courage and resilience. She not only took care of Gershom and Eleazar but also served as a figure of stability amid the uncertainty surrounding Moses's life. The responsibility of being a mother in such a challenging environment is a facet often overlooked, but it is fundamental to understanding Zipporah's role in the narrative. Alongside Moses, Zipporah faced the difficulties that arose with the growth of their family. The tensions that arose between the cultures and social expectations were constant, and the way Zipporah dealt with these issues demonstrates her strength and determination. Their union, marked by love and mutual respect, became a solid foundation for raising their children in a. Meaning of the names of the children. The names of Moses and Zipporah's children, Gershom and Eleazar, are much more than mere labels. They carry profound meanings that reflect Moses's life experiences. Gershom, for example, has a meaning that evokes a sense of displacement and longing. The phrase, "foreigner in a strange land," encapsulates Moses's state of mind at the time of his son's birth. He had fled Egypt, leaving behind everything he knew, and now found himself in Midian, a place that was not his homeland. This name, therefore, symbolizes Moses's internal struggle, feeling like a stranger in a place that should have been his refuge. On the other hand, the name Eleazar brings a message of hope and trust in divine assistance. Meaning God is help, this name reflects Moses's recognition that, despite the adversities he faced, he could always count on God's help. This aspect is crucial, as Moses was about to embark on a monumental mission that would require not only courage but also an unwavering faith in divine protection and support. The name Eleazar serves as a constant reminder that, even amid challenges, spiritual help is a constant in everyone's life. Additionally, the names of the children can also be seen as a way for Moses to express his hopes and fears. By naming Gershom, he not only recognized his condition as a foreigner but also the legacy he wished to pass on to his son, resilience in the face of uncertainty. On the other hand, with Eleazar, Moses reaffirmed his trust in God's power to guide him throughout his journey. These names, therefore, not only identify Moses's children but also encapsulate a narrative of struggle, faith, and overcoming. The choice of names can also be viewed in light of Hebrew culture, where the meaning of a name carries significant emotional and spiritual weight. In Jewish tradition, each name is often deliberately chosen to reflect an aspect of the life or history of the family. Thus, the names Gershom and Eleazar are not merely identifiers, they are, in essence, testimonies of Moses's own experiences and his relationship with God. These names become a link between the past and the future, connecting Moses's story with the trajectory of the Hebrew people. Gershom and Eleazar represent not only the continuity of Moses's lineage but also the symbolism of the journey of the people of Israel, which would become an even richer and more complex narrative as events unfolded. Circumcision and God's anger. A significant episode in the life of Moses and Zipporah occurred when God became angry with Moses for not having circumcised his son Gershom. Circumcision is an important practice in Hebrew tradition, symbolizing the covenant between God and the descendants of Abraham. This requirement was not merely a matter of tradition but an issue of obedience to divine law, something that Moses, as the leader of the Hebrew people, should have taken into account. The fact that God chose to punish Moses for this omission is a powerful reminder of the seriousness with which he takes his orders. In this crucial moment, the responsibility fell on Zipporah, who found herself forced to act quickly to avoid divine wrath. The biblical narrative describes how she, in an act of urgency and courage, performed the circumcision procedure on Gershom. This can be seen as a demonstration of faith and understanding of the role that obedience to God plays in family and community life. Zipporah, then, is not just a passive figure, she becomes an agent of salvation in a crisis that could have had devastating consequences for her family. In addition to the immediate action, this scene highlights the tensions and challenges that Moses faced in his new life as a leader and father. He was about to confront Pharaoh and lead the Hebrew people to freedom, but first needed to resolve fundamental issues of obedience and family identity. This episode not only underscores the importance of circumcision but also reveals the complexity of family relationships in a context where roles and responsibilities are constantly evolving. God's anger, in this context, serves as a warning about the need for attention and care regarding divine commandments. Moses, even though chosen for such a grand mission, was not exempt from the consequences of his failures. This story is a reminder that, regardless of our status or role in society, we are all responsible for following divine teachings and educating our children in the same tradition. The circumcision episode not only marks a turning point in the family's life but also establishes a model of commitment to faith that will extend for generations. It is a moment that reinforces the importance of obedience and mutual understanding within the family, reminding us that, in times of crisis, faith and action can be the keys to salvation. Return to Egypt. After receiving God's order to return to Egypt, Moses faces another significant challenge in taking Zipporah and his children with him. This journey back is not just a simple trip, but represents a return to a place marked by pain, flight, and the need for liberation. Egypt was not only the home of the oppressors but also the setting of his own story of struggle and redemption. By taking his family with him, Moses reaffirms his determination to fulfill the mission God entrusted to him, even in the face of the difficulties that may arise. The presence of Zipporah and the children on this journey is emblematic. They are not just travel companions but representatives of the future that Moses is fighting to secure. As he prepares to confront Pharaoh and demand the liberation of the Hebrew people, Moses' family symbolizes the hope for a new beginning and a future free from oppression. This idea that family is a pillar of support is fundamental in many narratives, and here it is no different. Zipporah, with her strength and courage, becomes an essential partner in Moses' mission. Still, this journey is filled with uncertainties. Egypt is a place that brings forth painful memories and a past that Moses would like to leave behind. However, he knows that his mission is greater than his personal experiences. He is about to lead a people who also yearn for freedom, and this responsibility weighs heavily on his shoulders. The fact that Zipporah and the children are by his side demonstrates that Moses' struggle is shared and that the family plays a crucial role in realizing his destiny. Moreover, this phase of the narrative highlights the complexity of the decisions Moses faces. He needs to balance his family life with his obligations as a leader. Zipporah, for instance, may not be fully aware of what lies ahead, but her presence offers a sense of stability and emotional support amid the turmoil. This family dynamic emphasizes the importance of personal relationships in times of crisis and change. As a result, the return to Egypt becomes a landmark in the history of Moses and his people. He is not just going back to confront Pharaoh, he is carrying with him the hope for a better future, the strength of his family, and the conviction that, together, they can challenge the forces of oppression. This narrative is a powerful testament to resilience and the central role that family can play in journeys of transformation and freedom. Reunion in the desert. After the liberation of the Israelites from Egypt, an exciting moment unfolded in the desert. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, decided to bring Zipporah and their children, Gershom and Eleazar, back to reunite with the prophet. Imagine the scene: Moses, who had faced unimaginable challenges, was now preparing to reunite with his beloved wife and children. The desert, with its hot sands and vast skies, seemed to witness the strength of this reunion. Love and longing mingled in the atmosphere as the family prepared for the reunion. Jethro, as a priest of Midian, not only held a position of respect but also possessed ancestral wisdom. He knew that family is a fundamental pillar on the path of faith and Moses' mission. Thus, his decision to bring Zipporah and the children to the desert was not just a matter of family reunification but an act of support for the divine mission that Moses had embraced. The anticipation was palpable, and everyone was eager to see how this reunion would change the course of their lives. When Zipporah and the boys arrived at the camp, it was a moment of pure emotion. Moses' joy at seeing his family again was evident, and the atmosphere filled with laughter and hugs. In the desert, where solitude could be overwhelming, the presence of Zipporah and the children brought new meaning and new strength. They were not just a reminder of his past but a vital part of the future that God had promised to the people of Israel. With the reunion, the family began to adapt to the new reality. Zipporah, with her determination and strength, became a source of support for Moses, who faced daily challenges as the leader of the people. The family dynamic adjusted, and together they learned to deal with the difficulties of the journey. The desert, which could be an arid and desolate place, became a space of growth and renewal for all of them. This reunion, therefore, was not just a physical return but a moment of strengthening family bonds. The unity of Zipporah and Moses, now with their children by their side, symbolized resilience and hope amid adversity. The desert, which had been the backdrop for so many trials, now witnessed the rebirth of a family united by a greater purpose. Family intrigue. However, life in the desert was not made up only of happy moments. In Numbers 12, a family intrigue arose that threatened the harmony of Moses' family. Miriam and Aaron, Moses' siblings, began to criticize his marriage to Zipporah, the Cushite woman. This criticism was not just a matter of personal opinion but also raised deep questions about identity, race, and acceptance within the family itself. The situation became complex, and tensions began to rise. The word Cushite refers to a people from the region of Ethiopia, and this raises questions about what really bothered Miriam and Aaron. Was it Zipporah's origin that troubled them, or was there something deeper at play? Their criticism not only affected Moses but also put Zipporah's position within the Israelite community into question. What should have been a space of welcome and unity became fertile ground for discord. Moses, for his part, was a leader facing not only external challenges but also internal issues. His siblings' criticism put him in a delicate position. How should he deal with the family intrigue without compromising his authority and at the same time protecting his wife and children? The situation required not only wisdom but also a deep love for his family. He could not ignore the pain that these words caused Zipporah. In this scenario, God intervened. He called Miriam and Aaron for a direct conversation, revealing the importance of Moses' leadership and his special relationship with Zipporah. The divine intervention brought to light the need to respect Moses' choices and recognize Zipporah's fundamental role in his life. The family intrigue, which seemed to threaten their union, ended up reinforcing the importance of mutual understanding and respect. The story of Numbers 12 reminds us that even in the closest families, issues of identity and acceptance can arise. The episode with Miriam and Aaron not only marked a moment of tension but also a lesson on the importance of family unity in the face of adversity. Zipporah, despite the criticism, continued to be a fundamental piece in the puzzle of Moses' story and the story of the people of Israel. Zipporah's legacy. Zipporah's legacy goes far beyond her personal story. She is a powerful example of how women played significant roles in the biblical narrative and in the formation of the people of Israel. In a world where women's voices were often silenced, Zipporah stood out as a strong, intelligent, and courageous woman. Her story is a testament that women also have a vital role in fulfilling God's plans. In addition to being Moses' wife and the mother of his children, Zipporah played a crucial role in decisive moments in the prophet's life. From emotional support to executing bold acts, such as the circumcision of Gershom, she proved to be a loyal partner and a woman of courage. These actions not only shaped her family's life but also left an indelible mark on the history of the people of Israel. Zipporah's role as a mediator between the traditions of Midian and the new demands of the Israeli faith is noteworthy. She brought with her the culture of her people while adapting to the new reality of life in the desert. This ability to navigate between different worlds is an admirable trait that many women possess and continues to be relevant today. The story of Zipporah, therefore, is not just a narrative of a woman alongside a great leader but an affirmation of the importance of women in building society and spirituality. They are often the bearers of traditions, the pillars of family, and the agents of change. Zipporah's legacy is a reminder that we should recognize and celebrate the contributions of women throughout history. In reflecting on Zipporah's life, we are invited to consider the role of women in our own lives and stories. The strength, resilience, and love she exemplified are qualities we should value and cultivate in our own families and communities. Zipporah's legacy is a light that shines, inspiring generations to recognize the value and impact of women in the history of humanity. And so, as we dive into the story of Zipporah, we realize that her life is much more than just a detail in Moses' narrative. She was a strong woman who faced challenges and made important decisions in critical moments. But what do you think? How do you think Zipporah dealt with the pressure of being the wife of a man chosen by God to lead an entire people? And more, what do her choices teach us about faith and courage? Her story provokes us to reflect on the roles we play in our own lives and how, often, women are the true heroes in the shadows. Have you stopped to think about how many Zipporahs exist today, who support their families and communities amid struggles and challenges? Furthermore, did you know that the relationship between Zipporah and Moses gives us a glimpse of how God operates in alliances and relationships? So, if you like this content, share your thoughts, and let's continue this conversation in the comments. Don't forget to leave your like and check out our next video, where we will explore more fascinating stories from the Bible. After all, the journey of faith is just beginning.